Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Brothers Take, the podcast where three brothers give their take on their interests each and every week. My name is Chris. I am joined once again by my brothers Adam
Hello.
and Eric.
Hello.
We're back in this. We're back in back in the room. What was I going to say? We are back in the room this week. That's what I was going to say. We are back in the this week.
We're back in
That's
this
getting
week.
off, back.
We're
We are,
backing this.
we
We're
are
backing
back-
this week.
We're backing up this week. We are back in the room this week to talk more Metal Gear, because last week people got their first previews of Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater, and there was some interesting interviews around that led to a comment that basically said MGS4 will be in the Master Collection Volume 2, which I'm sure everyone knew anyway, but
do that. Like, this is like your fucking Xbox thingy again.
we'll read the quote. I don't know why you're not able to read between the lines, especially when the person actually says read between the lines, which is what this guy said. He said, I can't comment on that, but read between the lines. Anyway, we'll get into it, but we'll talk about what we're seeing about the previews of MGS3 remake, as well as then our hopes for this MGS4 finally being taken, because it's stranded on the PS3 basically. So it might finally get life again. And not what we think will happen, because that's what I think we think will happen is the bare bones, but maybe what we would like to see happen with an MGS4 coming back in some way, shape, or form. What would be our wishes or dreams for that? And we might have talked about a few other bits and pieces too along the way, because we tend to ramble and go off on tangents. But we want to hear from you guys too. If you guys are watching YouTube, make sure you jump down into the comments at any point to share your thoughts on what we bring up, or if you want to bring up anything yourself from any other external sources or external information, please send it our way. If you enjoyed this episode, please give us a thumbs up, hit subscribe, ring the notification bell for all future content, including more Metal Gear conversations in the future. To those who listen to us on audio platforms, you can touch base on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and X at The Brothers Take, again, to give your take on the Metal Gear Delta previews and MGS4 coming in the future. But without further ado, let's talk Metal Gear.
I always love watching Eric's face fight. Fight, yawn.
Fights that yawn. Look at him. He's fighting the yawn. Eric, let it out. Just yawn.
Can't.
It's
I know,
okay to yawn.
I
To be
know.
honest, the fighting the yawn always looks funnier. Like,
Yeah, it's hilarious. That's what I do. I bring the comedy to
yeah,
this
thank God.
chat.
Is that it?
Because I don't know
God.
what the hell we're talking about. So I'm like, I'm going to throw out a joke.
Very good. Well, let me tell you, right? I was actually surprised before we get into the Metal Gear stuff, which is going to be the bulk of this week's episode and conversation, right? There was actually like, because I felt like there was like no gaming news this week or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got home one night and saw that people had watched a Nintendo Direct the night before, and I was like, first of all, usually I see all these things, and I usually
you're pretty
share
up to
these
date.
things. Because I'm following all these like certain channels and stuff like that. So I'm usually aware when something like that is on. So I was shocked that I didn't even know that there was a Nintendo Direct and an Indie World showcase, right? And then all the reviews came out for Star Wars Outlaws, and I'd kind of missed out on those too. And I was like, how did I miss this stuff, right? And then the Rings of Power dropped, and I was like, how did I not even cop that was out? Like, usually, and not that these are not all things that I'm necessarily excited about, but usually I know when they come out. Like, usually I'm on top of that. And the reason is that my social media was absolutely just Oasis. It was all over my social media. It was just Oasis and Linkin Park countdown. Like the band. Are you kidding me?
Why?
Because it's the biggest news in the music world. Are you kidding me?
What, Oasis?
They're reuniting and touring next year.
Oh, okay.
You didn't know that? How is that not all over your
This is like Adam from the
Because
end of
Metal Gear
Uncharted, where he's
Solid-
like,
And the Nintendo there
was all over my feed.
No, but I did see the Metal Gear and the Star Wars Outlaws for sure was over my feed. So
I had
That's crazy. I would have thought even just just people talking. Like that's all I heard all week was
I did.
Oasis,
That's not
Oasis,
all I
Oasis.
heard, but I've seen lots of people sharing Oasis. But yeah, I've seen a few like thumbnails of something to do with Outlaws. I didn't really click on it because I find nowadays it's really hard to trust nearly any review.
I watched a few reviews for Star Wars Outlaws, and it has made up my mind because I know that was one that I was like, you know what? It looks kind of interesting. If the reviews are good, it's one I'd play. I'm not getting Star Wars Outlaws.
Okay.
Is that a game that either of you were maybe interested in when it was first announced?
Yeah, yeah, I
Interested.
was
All right, okay.
interested, but I want to see more. Like I'm not. I wasn't like, oh yeah, I'm definitely gonna get that. Like, you
Yeah,
know what
like
I mean?
I want the
I
demo.
wasn't. Yeah, no, I didn't expect a demo actually, but it was very
Always
much a.
demos.
If the reviews are good, I might enjoy another Star Wars adventure. But the reviews are all pretty mediocre, so
Yeah,
yeah,
I kind of had a
I
feeling that
lost interest in
it
that
was
altogether. So.
not going to be great.
But I didn't have like a horse in the race either. You know that way. It's
Yeah.
not like I'm excited for Astrobot, and I will feel a little devastated inside if the Astrobot reviews are crap.
Yeah.
Then I'll be like, oh man, I was looking forward to that one. You know what I mean? Whereas this is one where it's like, yeah, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Well, then I just won't get it.
I think I saw a short clip of Greg Miller's little review, and that was enough for me to kind of get a
Right.
good sense.
And he was excited. He was actually really excited for. The
yeah,
game.
to hear that come from him, it's like, okay, this is, yeah.
Yeah, that did it for me. That and I watched it Before You Buy, Jake Baldino,
Oh, yeah.
who is normally incredibly positive
He's
about
a-
nearly every game he plays because he looks for the positive all the time.
Yeah.
And he did say at the start, he said, I need to preface this by saying I'm biased towards Star Wars stuff. He said, I even like the new Star Wars shows and stuff. He's like, if you give me anything Star Wars, I tend to like it. And he said, I didn't really like this game.
Yeah.
So,
no, he's pretty
You
balanced.
know, yeah.
But I find that guy is quite a good, or like that channel is quite good because it does talk about the
I
pros
do-
and
yeah.
cons. Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's not. I don't find that is in any way ever really skewered or balanced, or because you always sometimes when people review something they go like, "Oh, this thing is so crap. Look, see, crap. Moving on." And it's like that was a very edited clip though. Like, you know, I mean,
I always think that's-
I haven't really seen any reviews like that.
I know what you mean. I have seen reviews like that, but
I'm
think
being a
it's-
little over exaggerated
No,
with
no,
what
but
I mean, but
I know what you mean. But I think that's more guys like, and I'm not bashing anyone here, but I think that's more guys like Dreamcast guy and people like that, where
Oh, sure.
they're just guys themselves doing reviews. Like I don't think I've ever seen IGN, for example, which
Right.
they have often very controversial reviews and people don't often agree with them. But I never see them go, look at this clip, see how shit that was. You know, like
Right,
they
yeah,
just
yeah.
wouldn't get away with that. They
no,
wouldn't
but
be
they're
allowed.
they're
But I know
yeah,
what
I
you
suppose
mean.
they're a lot bigger. But
Yeah, I know
on
what
that
you mean.
side, I can't really agree with. Yeah, I can't really believe what they're saying
Yeah,
because of the way those kind of big journalists have gone.
yeah,
Where
yeah.
it's like, are you actually giving me the full package? So I suppose maybe that's kind of why I didn't really check out reviews for Star Wars Outlaws at the moment because I was a little bit like, am I really gonna be able to believe this?
Sure.
Is this thumbnail
So then- but
slightly
then how-
edited?
What I'm wondering is how would you know then
How would you judge?
yourself whether it was like what because for me it was very much I was I'm going to wait and see how this game reviews, and by watching lots of reviews I have kind of formed a sense of whether it's a game for me or not.
Yeah,
now,
watching one
that's
is
not
certainly
to
not
say-
helpful. You kind of
No,
need to
one
get
is not
like
enough. One is not enough. You have to watch a few, and I
Oh,
always
yeah,
watch
an
for
average
sure.
take,
Yeah.
a lot of
It's
reviews.
kind of like me with Black Myth Wukong. I watched
Yeah, and like
way too many reviews
right
for
and
that game.
most of them overwhelmingly positive. So then you go,
Yeah.
well, it must be good, right?
Yes.
They can't all be wrong. But what I'm wondering then is because when you said I would be interested in the game and kind of keeping an eye out for it, like what would have been the thing that make you go, yeah, I'm gonna get it, or is it still something you're interested in, or
No, it wouldn't really be, but I suppose if I had a seen thumbnails go, wow, this is incredible.
oh, okay, so because you're seeing so it is the reviews. You're just not clicking on them.
I'm just not clicking on it,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it is making me go, okay. Like
Right, okay.
people aren't really coming out. Now, in fairness,
There's
it
no like
wasn't-
high praise coming out.
No, there's no high praise coming out, and in fairness, it is don't really want to bash them, but Ubisoft does tend to have showcases that are like, this looks incredible. And
Hmm.
then you get it and you're like, this is not the game you advertised 5 months
Yeah,
ago.
yeah.
Why does this look worse?
Yes, yeah. And why
So,
is it broken?
yeah.
But as I say, look, guys, if anyone's out there playing Star Wars Outlaws, let us know what you think of it personally. Maybe you're enjoying it. I had a flashback during the week to Abandoned. Do you know this?
What happened?
We
Anyone?
didn't know about your flashback, but we know of that game
But do you
thing
know any guesses as to why I flash back to Abandoned and Blue Balls Studios?
because Jeff Keighley released a tweet to say this thing is still coming out or
No,
something.
no, 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 no. No, because I sat down to watch the end of the countdown that Linkin Park had going on for 100 hours,
All
and
right.
I sat down for the last half hour of it, waiting for the big reveal, being so fucking excited to see what it was, and then it glitched at the end and started counting up. I was like, you fucking trolls! Now, by the time this episode is out, we'll probably have a better idea. I did get an email today, as of date of recording, that gives me a fair idea of what they're up to, because I got a code and an invite, but I don't live in Los Angeles, so I can't avail of it, but I'm fucking raging. Because it looks like they're giving out free tickets to something. But anyway, we might know more by the time this is all out. But anyway, I had
Are
that
we
moment where I
coming
was
up
like,
at
the last
all?
time I felt like this was abandoned when they
Yeah.
counted out to something, and then nothing happened.
Is it by any chance coming up to anniversary minutes midnight or anything?
I thought that at first, but no, it's not. It's coming up to time to play a tour live. That's
Okay.
what it's coming up to, really. I think
Right.
that's what they're getting at. I think there's going to be a tour next year.
Okay.
Probably.
We shall
Because, I mean,
see.
they have their new singer now, don't they?
What?
What?
Do they?
Do they? I mean, if they do, that would be huge news. Like,
I thought they got.
who's the new singer?
I can't remember her name, but I thought they got someone.
There's been a lot. This could be out by the time this episode is out, so I don't want to spend too long on it. But there was rumors for ages that they're getting a female singer, but I haven't heard any names. I've also heard.
thought I saw a video where they were practicing with a female. I can't remember her
No,
name.
I told you. I told you what that was. So Mike Shinoda did these already over sessions as part of his project, and he
Hi.
played it with various different artists all across the world. And in one of those videos, he had a female sing with him. But in another video, he had a male sing with him. And in another, like, no, that's not the new. No, she could. Maybe they will ask her, but no, that's not like confirmed.
no.
She is the singer of Linkin Park
I'm not
because
gonna. I'm
she did
not
that
gonna lie.
video.
Right, I'm not gonna lie. Next week, I'm gonna forget all that information. We'll
And you're
come
gonna
back
say,
to
"I'm
this. and
pretty
I'm
sure
gonna be
Linkin
I'm
Park
pretty
have
sure they
a
already
female
got singer.
But that would be massive news. Like, that would be everywhere. Linkin
Yeah,
Park's
well,
new singer.
your algorithm isn't telling you anything anymore, so you know.
No, it was telling. That's what I'm saying. My algorithm was just Linkin Park and Oasis. That was it. That was all I was getting.
Yeah, and actually, when you were talking about Oasis and Adam just seemed confused, it reminded me of that time at the end of Uncharted when Adam's like, "Who the hell was that guy?" It's like,
Navarro?
especially Adam be like, "Who's Oasis?"
Who the fuck are those guys? Well, anyway, that's not what we're here to actually talk about. We're here to talk about the thing that was all over Adam's algorithm. Metal Gear Solid. Last week, there was a load of crowds got their previews of Delta, first of all. So, I'd love to talk about what people are saying about that first, and then use that as the jumping point to talk about MGS4, which someone has finally talked about. Someone from Konami has finally commented in some way, shape, or form on MGS4 being in their future, which I feel like, you know, it just hasn't been talked about in a long, long time. Probably since it came out. But yeah, MGS Delta. Any of you guys checked out any of the previews or what people were saying, or?
No, I didn't even know there was previews. That's how bad my algorithm was.
Yeah, you were just getting Dustborn and stuff.
Yeah, my algorithm went weird. I'm gonna have to fix it.
Adam, were you checking out any of the previews?
I just seen a couple of the clips. I didn't really get much of what people's opinions are on it, but I gather not a whole lot. Because even though I was getting some clips on it, there was no one like praising the hell out of it, as far as I
Right.
can see.
Right.
Okay.
but the gameplay, I think it looks as expected. It looks like what we expect it to be, which is basically that 1-for-1 Snake Eater, but
with modern controls.
With like the way he maybe controls in Phantom Pain.
Yeah.
Is it being made with that engine?
No, I believe it's Unreal.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's made with Unreal Engine. It looks, as in visually, it looks fantastic. Yeah, it looks absolutely fantastic visually. And I'm sure the modern controls do make it fun to play as well, like to replay the experience in that way. What I've watched a few previews and listened to a few different people's thoughts to get a kind of a branching overlook at what people are saying. And this it's mixed, right?
Oh, okay.
On the one hand, you're getting, I actually saw more people say this, but I feel like this is not the camp you're going to be in, Adam. Or me or Eric, actually. More people were saying, I've played the Virtuous Mission to MGS Delta, and it is everything the fans wanted.
Okay.
They haven't ruined the vision at all. It is perfect. They have perfectly replicated the game. On the other hand, I saw a couple of previews that were like, I don't think they've gone far enough. I don't think they've done enough. I don't think they've changed it enough, especially after getting the Master Collection only like not that long ago. Like, I can play MGS3 on my modern consoles already. So now having this preview so soon after, I just feel like I already did this, is what the other previews are saying. So it's very much really the reaction will come down to, like, what do you want from an MGS3 remake?
Well, which of those are you using right now?
I mean, obviously, I haven't played it, and maybe playing it, I would change my mind and go, oh my god, this is actually fucking so fun to play. It's incredible, right?
Yeah.
But just speaking from in the lead up to it, I'd always been in the camp of, I really hope they change it up. I don't mean in a Final Fantasy VII way, right?
No, we always mean Resi 2. That's what we mean.
We mean Resi 2, or well, like for me, Resident Evil 4 remake is the best video game remake ever made, right? Maybe not my favorite, because I love what
That's
FF7
bold
does
claims.
so
Twin
much.
Snakes exists, Chris.
Twin Snakes does exist, and it doesn't get enough love. But no, like, I think because, like, right, so what the FF7 thing does is a perfect accompaniment. I think you should play both in that case.
Sure.
Right? Something like The Last of Us Part 1 is like, well, you can just play this and never play the original. Because it's just, it is the same game, basically, but it will look visually more appealing. Resident Evil 4 does that thing of, and Resi 2, I should say, both. You can play it and not play the original, and you will actually now understand the story of the game. Or you can play as an accompaniment, and you'll get even more appreciation for what they're doing.
Yeah.
Because of how they play with the text. So it's that perfect balance. I think Capcom are like nailing that balance of really faithful retelling, but also, oh, you expected that to happen, but well, we just fucked it up on you. You know what I mean? It won't change the experience for new players, but old players will be like, holy shit, they know this game so well, and they know that I know the game so well, and they're fucking with me, you know? And that's really what I wanted when I heard that they were going to remake. And I'd be like that with any Metal Gear Solid remake.
Yeah.
To be honest. But I get the sense that they feel that they already know they're on the back foot making this game. That a lot of people have lost faith in Konami, especially because Kojima's not involved in any way. Now, I will say that apparently all the previews, like, directed by Hideo Kojima, is still in all the credits. They haven't removed that.
And there was, I did see in an article as well, something that they mentioned about them wanting to keep it in line with the original creator's vision. Yeah, and it was actually quite nice to see it written that way. Like, I'm wondering if there's like a new blood in Konami that's like, hold the fuck up.
I think there is, and I think
Yeah.
they're fans of the game.
Yeah.
I guess where I'm coming, and that's I think this remake is probably being done with love, actually, right? Maybe not the decision to remake it. That might have been a very much a business decision, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think the people working on it love this game. I For me personally, it feels like they're maybe treating the original as a holy text that cannot be in any way altered, or it'd be blasphemous. Right down to,
Yep.
because the previews are all saying as well that when you leave one area, the like screen, like the black lines come down, the name comes across, you leave it, and you're in a whole new area, rather than a seamless jungle. So it's
That's
Okay.
very much
okay.
the original game.
So that on a nostalgia approach is really nice.
Yeah.
On a kind of modern gaming approach, that's unnecessary. Like having a loading screen. It's like sometimes today when you have like the loading bar or something at the bottom of the screen, it can sometimes be a bit like, the hell is this doing here?
Right. We've got so used to not having these.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was like, on one approach, it's like, oh, that's so nice staying that faithful. But then I suppose on the other hand, it is a bit like, that's not necessary. But so maybe they are, yeah, as you're saying, maybe they are treating it like some holy text to keep it
I suppose it goes
as
back
close
to
as
the,
possible.
the Last of Us Part 1 treatment, right? It's
It
like,
seems to be.
why then?
Y-
Why do it?
The way you said that was very much like, Peter Griffin's was his
The
great
philosopher.
uncle got into philosophy, and he was like,
Why?
that's all I can think of. But
Like as
Yeah,
a Metal
look-
Gear, as a Metal Gear fan, I am not excited for this game, and I
Right.
absolutely should be.
yeah, why aren't you?
Well, I don't. I think the original version is fine. I don't actually see anything. Like, yes, you.
So
can,
would you
can
would you never be interested in a remake of Snake Eater? Or is it that it's just the
don't
way
know.
they're doing it, or
I think
what
it
is it?
probably is the way they were doing it. It's. I think with like Resident Evil 4, I think benefited a little bit from a remake. I think Resident Evil 4 is still phenomenal and kind of
Yes.
it
Oh yeah.
it didn't necessarily it didn't need a remake, right? It didn't need
True.
one. But
But it's interesting that when they announced that,
Yeah.
you were immediately excited.
yeah, and I
even
think the
though
reason for
it
that
didn't
is
need it.
because I know that the graphics can actually make this even scarier. A game that I'm now used to,
Right.
it can make it scarier. The lighting and so on. I would say Resident Evil 1 and 2 and 3 maybe needed a remake. Right? Because Resident Evil 1 that's a janky game. Like that's not that does not control well.
Right.
But I don't see any other than the frame rate, which I think is resolved in the Master Collection. I think in Snake Eater. I don't see anything wrong with the game. There's nothing wrong with it. I mean,
I don't think anyone
you might be used
is-
to I need to the crouch and walk thingy, but
Yeah. I don't think anyone's saying there's anything wrong with Snake Eater, though. And I don't think that's where anyone would be coming from with this as a remake. I just think they're like, I mean, the visuals are stunning.
right.
And like just seeing like the mud on Snake as he's crawling through the jungle. I think people are more excited about Snake Eater looking even better, right? And maybe playing even better. Where I would come from though is that it's like, I think I would have liked more creative risks taken with the overall experience. Because I feel like a lot of people are going to get this game and skip the cutscenes
Yeah.
rather than sit through them again. You know what I mean? Unless they're like reanimated in such a way that it's like, oh wow, like because they're using all the same like the original recorded dialogue.
Yeah,
They're not re-recording the dialogue or anything
It
like that.
did look
So
a bit odd too. Some of the clips where Snake's talking, and yeah, it is the old voice with the new animation. There's something about it that just doesn't gel.
I think I would have re-recorded the lines personally.
I think so too. Yeah.
But and if it meant getting the old cast back, that's to still make people excited. But it's like, but it'll be a slight rewrite of the script, and some of the like radio calls will happen while you're running around, so that it's not a constant pause screen thing. Like I loved it back in the day, but I just think that if you were to update it for a modern age, I don't think that you keep stopping the player from playing, because that was something that came at the previous lot as well. Was like when I eventually got to play a Snake, and I said, and remember, this is a Metal Gear game.
Yeah.
You know, like that's the thing as well. Eric, what do you think so far? With like,
Well,
are you excited to like just keep it as it is? It's exactly how I want it.
Well, I haven't played the game in a very long time.
Right, yeah.
So it might be nice for me to jump back in with this new updated style gameplay.
Yeah.
That then I don't do these moments where like, okay, I'm gonna crouch. Oh, fuck's sake, Snake, why are you crawling? No, get back up. Oh no, I got spotted. All right. So at least I can kind of blend between that. And obviously that's more of a personal issue rather than the original being bad. So in that case, I might really like it.
Yeah.
But then I've gotten so used to games being so much more free flowing that I might get, and like my attention span has dropped exponentially. It has. I'm terrible. I'm absolutely terrible.
Right, okay.
So therefore, yeah, I might be like, Jesus, this cutscene's going on for 2 minutes. It's way too long. You know what I mean? Like, or
Yeah.
yes, the very start is he drops, he answers the radio, he walks a couple of steps, he answers the radio, he walks a couple of. I do remember that. There's like 5 like calls.
You climb the vine tree, you get the bag, you drop down,
and you get a call.
You get another call.
Yeah. But then again, I haven't played the game in a very long time, and it might be a nice way to jump back into it.
I do think for
gameplay.
someone who maybe I think it's the timing of it being on the Master Collection and then it being remade so soon after.
Yes, that was silly.
I think that like people in Eric's position who haven't played the game in such a long time but do love it, who will get to play it this way with a fresh coat of paint and be like, oh, I remember this bit. Oh, this is fucking amazing. Will benefit. I played Snake Eater not that long ago, so I don't know if I would have the same feelings of, holy shit, this takes me back, you know?
Oh, this takes me back to 2 weeks ago. Wow.
Right, you know what I mean? Like, it's not going to be the same thing. And I do wonder if there's any additional or new features or anything like that. Like, I still think this could be I think this game is going to review very well, actually.
Maybe. I think that what you just mentioned there about the codec taking you out of the gameplay is a big mistake, I think, for a modern audience.
Yeah, well, for this game will not be made for the TikTok generation.
Yeah. But like, there's no reason why you couldn't just be doing things as that's playing.
The radio
other
information is
other than you might end up moving on to the next location and so on. So then, therefore, having it as locked locations is a bad idea too. They needed to make this a bit more free roaming. It just doesn't seem. It's not as if it's not that it needs to change and make risks. It just needs to be updated.
More than visually and
oh yeah, like this whole
how he plays.
This whole like putting a fresh coat of paint on with new graphics and thinking that's a better game it's like a ridiculous mindset that I think both gamers and developers need to kind of get over. Right. Graphics aren't the game. They're not.
No, of course not.
And it's like it can be beautiful, but if it still plays like a PS2 game, then it's just a PS2 game with modern graphics.
It's going to play with the Phantom Pain, so it's Unreal Engine, so it's going to look up to date. It's going to be playing with the Phantom Pain gameplay, I think.
But yeah, the way he controls.
Stuff.
Yeah.
People have said, the way Snake controls is really good.
Yeah.
And you get little reminders whenever you like take a guard hostage. You get reminders of what you can do to them CQC wise. One guy I did doing the preview, I watched them all in different orders, so I can't remember which one was which or whatever. But I think might have been the guy doing from GameSpot. But anyway, he said that because he was getting these reminders of what you can do. He said even though it was always in the game, like it was always in Snake Eater that you could do some of this stuff. He found himself doing it more because he would forget to try out that kind of stuff in the original, and he said he just really liked he was actually enjoying taking on the enemies a lot more.
The
because of
CQC side of it.
Yeah,
That
so
is
the
an
CQC
area.
side.
Yeah, that's
is
an
like,
area that's obviously going to be
they
improved.
remind you more. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now they
Stuff like
they
that, yeah.
could have they could have taken a page out of Resi 4 and Resi 2 because I definitely know in like the likes of the old Resi 4 when you're going to leave the village and you press the X button because we were playing on PS2 at the time, and then it would go and it would like zoom in and stuff, and then you go into the next area because it goes into a bit of like a loading screen type thing. And in the remake, when you're leaving the village, you just leave it. You know, there is no loading screens. Everything's just so yeah. They could have done that for sure. I'd say they're doing that kind of letterbox thing with the dialogue as a sort of a nod thing. But I think the biggest issue really with this is like you's got the Master Collection. I don't think
I
the
didn't get
Master
it.
Collection. Never mind. Like Chris getting the Master Collection and other people probably got it. It's like releasing that and then going, and here's a remake of that game that's also on that Master Collection. When in reality, if they were going to make a remake of 3, they shouldn't have put it on the Master Collection.
Yeah, and that's a dodgy one
No,
too, because people
yeah.
are like, what if I want to play that original game though as well? But then it's like, yeah, if it's going to be no different, really, you know, it's a I don't know.
I mean,
It's
they
a
made
tricky
Final
one.
Fantasy VII available on the PlayStation, and then made a remake. So it's not that having
No,
access to it. It's
Yeah,
just
that's
that
different.
it's not different enough.
That's where
If
I
you're
would
going
be
to have
coming from.
a collection, I mean, the reason I didn't get the collection is because it actually just is a very poor attempt even at doing the collection, which has me a little bit worried about the way Volume 2 is going to be.
Yeah.
So that didn't really play any different than now. I've had the collection on the PS3 and I had it on the Vita. And
yeah, 'cause
it was
there was that
on
one
Game
as well,
Pass
yeah.
as well. So technically, I had it on Xbox.
Yes.
So
He's obsessed with Game Pass, isn't he?
It's
He's always mentioning it.
these newer volumes, bringing them over onto the modern consoles, just didn't really do enough.
Mhm.
And I think we're kind of seeing that area again. I don't know whether that whole letterbox into the next area was a homage thing to be like, oh, we just want to keep it in line, or if it's, well, we didn't really redesign the game, so you know, we didn't really think what's between this bit and this bit, right?
I get what you're saying.
We're only rebuilding exactly what's there.
I get what you're saying, yeah, but are they doing that from the place of nostalgia, though? Are they doing that we're rebuilding the game
Maybe.
exactly as it is because we're treating this thing like a sacred text that cannot be changed, and people will kill us if we give them any reason to say, oh, you just got rid of Kojima and then you ruined his game. You know?
Yeah.
If we I think they're I think they're remaking it with love and they're afraid of this project at the same time. It's kind of the vibe I get. I think they're like too afraid to own it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah,
And
because
they're just going,
it's
let's
almost
take the best things from the Phantom Pain, which is the controls and stuff, and a visual overhaul, but let's not change that game at all because people, like, this is like one of the most beloved games of all time, you know?
Yeah, because it's almost not Konami's product, really. It's Kojima's product, and
Very much so. Yeah, very much so.
But then then why remake this one? There's
Is it
two
coming out
other
this-
fucking Metal Gears that take place
know.
after Phantom Pain that you could have remade.
I
That
know.
deserve
I
a
know.
remake. They absolutely deserve a remake.
Right. And there'd be less of a... Yeah, I mean, they would look night and day different.
Yeah, no
You
one's
know,
going to
they
be like,
would-
oh, no, you didn't do that
The
thing.
game is in 3D. Oh, this is terrible.
Yeah. Totally ruined the remake. Yeah, I know what you mean. I would have always... I did say that before, that I'd love a remake of Metal Gear and Metal Gear 2, and I think you could expand on those so much more. You could, like, add... you could
yeah.
add... I think you could add as much as you want to those, actually, because
Then you know what? With
they were
those
pretty
two-
shorter experiences, I think.
Yeah, with those two, you could have done them in the one game as well.
Well, if you
You
actually
could have, yeah. You could have.
If you
With
went to
add-
Final
with
Fantasy
added more.
VII, the remake treatment on those two, you could actually
Make a whole
could make
series
it
of
into
these
two
things. You
separate games, and
You could milk the shit out of
You
it.
could, and now you're guaranteed to have a Metal Gear for the next 5 yeyears, maybe 6, right?
Yeah.
That I don't
I
understand this fucking decision, to be honest.
I don't. Yeah, I don't like what you're saying there, Adam.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear you. And then I'm curious though, like say when it drops, and I mean we now know what the game is. It's a very faithful remake retelling of Snake Eater, right?
Yeah.
It's very clear. Say the reviews are all like outstanding for the game. Might that make you go, do you know what? Yeah, I'm gonna play it then. Or are
Yeah,
you
probably
like,
would actually.
oh, there we go then. What are we talking about?
What I'm talking about is that I'm not excited for it as a Metal Gear fan.
Yes, yeah, I know, I'm joking.
And it's the previews I've seen. It's not, I haven't really heard anyone's opinion, so that's not. I'm not being judged by that. I'm just looking at. I was looking at clips. I wasn't even clicking into them really. It's just the way they autoplay and stuff like that. And what I'm seeing is just like the game I've played, but prettier. And that to me is that's not enough. I want new gameplay. Really, I want something new and different, something that makes owning a PS5 fucking worth it. That's what I want.
You know what it is, right? This is where this remake actually came from. This is where it's all actually coming from. You know, people were playing pachinko machines with the beautiful visuals updated from Snake Eater.
Oh yeah,
and they were going, man, if only the gameplay to these cutscenes was better. and then they went, that's what we need to do then. We need to...
this is technically...
This is a remake of the pachinko machine
yeah.
game.
I don't know. Would you consider the pachinko machine a remake of Snake Eater?
No, not at all.
Okay.
No.
But
it was a Snake Eater.
That does make Delta the second remake of Snake Eater.
Sure. I think the pachinko machine is just a Snake Eater themed pachinko machine rather than a...
What is pachinko machine?
It's like a... it's kind of like pinball, is it?
Yeah, kind of, yeah. It's a gambling machine, basically.
It's a gambling machine, and they used to play... They had videos on it, and they had all these, like... You've definitely seen images of it, of, like, Snake and the boss looking absolutely fucking incredible years and years before this remake. But basically, those images sparked the remake Snake Eater thing.
Yeah.
Oh,
that pachinko machine is the reason this is happening.
Thank you,
it's just
pachinko
that years
machine.
later, thank you, pachinko. That is actually the reason, because then it did actually start an online campaign of please remake Snake Eater. In a similar way to that pachinko machine did for this project, what that PS3 tech demo Final Fantasy VII thing did back in the day, where people were like, well, now you have to remake it. You've just teased the fuck out of me with this. you have to. Yeah. You
blue ball the shit out of us.
Blue ball. But anyway, we shall see. I'm curious, what do you think Snake Eater Delta is coming out this year?
Last I heard it was it not? Did I not hear it was coming out like November or something this year, or October or something?
I don't know.
News to me if you did.
I don't see why not. I really don't see why not, to be honest.
Am I just making up information for this entire episode? I thought Linkin Park just cast it. So
the reason I don't think it's releasing this year, and the reason why it's releasing early next year, is because one, it hasn't got a release date yet, but that doesn't mean it won't get one, right? But two, I'm trying to look at where would they release, like window-wise, where would they release it? They're releasing, obviously, it's a different team, but Konami are releasing Silent Hill 2 in October. I don't think they're going to release Snake Eater around the same time as Silent Hill 2. We're too close for it to be September. So November or December, I think it'll get pushed out to January or February. That's what I think.
It's two different.
Confirmed.
It's two different audiences.
February.
Though.
It is and it isn't. Like the amount of people who are really excited for remakes of these games is like a lot of nostalgic, same aged people actually who did play both back in the day.
Yeah. But,
like there will be. It's not the exact same audience, but there will be a huge crossover.
It's not quite the same as like that time when EA released was a Battlefield 1 and Titanfall 2 on like the fucking same month or day or week or some shit. Like,
silly idea.
That's a similar audience.
No, I know. I just don't know when Snake Eater would come out.
Yeah.
Is what I'm trying to say.
Here do I. But
I don't know when's
that's
a
not
good
really-
time to release it, which is why I think it's going to be next year.
Well, I thought we confirmed that pretty much anytime Chris gives a date for a game, that's it. Like, that's when it comes out.
There you go, Snake Eater Delta, February 2025. Thank me later. If that comes out, there's gonna be there's gonna be a state of play in September, and Snake Eater Delta will be shown off more in depthly at that state of play. They'll show off all the gameplay features and everything you expect. It'll be like a dedicated one, and at the end they'll have the release date, and it'll say February 2025. That's I'm gonna throw
How much
that
do
out
we
there.
owe you if
Do you
that is
reckon-
true?
Nothing.
Do you think the
Except
end
your
will play
respect
differently?
from now on. The end boss fight.
Or do you think
think
that
it'll
will be
play-
all exactly the same?
Exactly the same. I think it'll be exactly the same.
Oh, okay.
I think it's going to be like at the start of the game, you will be asked which Metal Gear do you like, and it'll determine which mask you wear. I think it's going to be exactly the same.
Okay.
Didn't that only happen if you picked Metal Gear Solid 2?
If you picked MGS 2, you had the Raiden mask. At that
Yeah,
point,
but everything else it was.
Rykov mask.
Sorry, the Rykov.
Sorry, the Rykov
Ivan
mask.
Rykov, wasn't it?
Something like that, yeah.
But then, if you chose any other one, he'd have just his own face.
Yeah.
Be nice though if for this, if depending on which one you chose, he had different masks, and so they added
They probably
that
will
stuff
have. Maybe what if they have more in there?
More camo and stuff.
Yeah,
I did-
like
one
to
thing
do
that was
with,
appealing-
like Phantom Pain and like Peace
Yeah.
Walker 4.
One thing
even.
that was appealing to me was they do have shortcuts now, like the directional pad for like quick shortcuts to weapons and quick shortcuts to changing camo. And I do think
Okay.
that could be good,
Yeah.
rather than going into menus all the time. I think that's will make the gameplay more seamless, probably.
Maybe it's not as if
No,
the shoulder menu.
Yeah, it didn't make a huge difference, but
Yeah.
But but the shoulder menu didn't really deal with the camo thing, so the camo thing would be.
yeah,
Quite
the
nice.
camo
Yeah,
thing
that
is the one where
and-
it'd make a difference.
And accessing the health menu would be yeah.
The
Those
curing?
are
Touchpad.
definitely those are definitely areas that could be improved, so you're not like going through the pause menu every time to do it. So maybe there's some quality of life improvements in here.
Yeah, we shall wait and see to hear more. It's interesting as well that previews for Silent Hill 2 came out not long ago either, and were, I think, shockingly positive. Like, overwhelmingly positive. In a way where everyone who previewed it said, I thought this game looked crap. And I was shocked that I really liked it. But that's one where you're looking at it going, I can already tell how much of a remake it is. Like it's very much going to be a different feeling game to the original because it's a much bigger leap, you know?
Yeah.
But anyway, it was during all these Snake Eater previews that someone finally asked about MGS 4, right? I'm just looking up at I'm looking at IGN's article who reported on this because I don't want to misquote because I know Eric doesn't like when I go. He basically said this, so read between the lines. He's like, no. Okay, so what's the name of the guy even? Okamura? I don't know what his first name is. Okamura is one of the guys working on, or I think he's the producer of the Metal Gear series now for Konami. And this is what he is quoted to have said. We definitely are aware of this situation with MGS4.
Really?
Unfortunately, we can't really say too much at the moment, with Volume 1 containing MGS 1 to 3 ... You can probably connect the dots. This is his quote. I'm not saying that. Right now, we still are internally concerned about what we should be doing for the future of the series. So sorry, we can't really reveal anything at the moment, but stay tuned. So a lot of people ran with that saying MGS4 is coming back, but I don't know, Eric. When you hear that, what's your thinking on that? Because you tend to be a
connecting
lot
the
more
dots-
skeptical than I am when I read these things.
Right. Well, connecting, like he says about connecting the dots, and that's very easy. The dots are going in a straight line, so you just.
Oh,
Sorry, I really wanted to
smartass.
fucking say that joke. Because it's just, I mean, you have the dot, 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 and then connect the dots. It's like, well, that's fucking, you just draw a line, like, come on, give us something easy. Give us something hard there, like, come on.
I don't think he means literally.
Uh, yeah, I mean, oh, well, okay, he's saying connect the dots. And after saying as well, we understand the situation with Metal Gear Solid 4.
Hmm.
So definitely they're thinking about it. They're probably wanting to cook something up. Might not necessarily mean though that it's coming to volume 2. They might have
Okay.
something else in store for it.
Remake, let's go. Now there's a game. There's a game that deserves a remake.
Metal Gear Solid 4? Would you be more excited if they said we're remaking Metal Gear Solid 4 over the remake for Metal Gear Solid 3?
Absolutely. Do you know how many
Right.
fucking ways I can play Metal Gear Solid 3?
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. Would you not first want just a port of MGS4 so you could finally play MGS4?
Like, yes,
You know.
but I would. I think MGS4, as much as I love it, is a very problematic game, and I think if they port it, that is just going to introduce all of its problems to a much larger audience. And if you're worried about the future of the series, do you really want newer gamers to play that movie and be really pissed off with the lack of game in it?
Mm-hmm.
There's
But
loads
the
of games
gameplay features in MGS4 are incredible.
Well, they
You
are,
just
but
don't get
I think
nearly enough time to actually use any of them.
Yeah, so if some of the CQC stuff in that, plus like rolling on your back and like all the things you can do in it, are actually quite difficult to pull off. 5 just streamlines that the whole way through. So
Yeah.
I think what they've managed to achieve with the gameplay in 5 is really, really good. But this time you can actually be on the battlefield. You know, be surrounded. Like you could make that way more chaotic, kind of like the way the trenches are in Death Stranding. Like it would look phenomenal. It would play phenomenal, I think. It kind of needs that. And it needs more of it. It needs way more gameplay.
Mm-hmm.
Bigger gameplay moments.
Isn't there moments that were in MGS4 originally and were cut, probably due to like timing or space?
I think
or something like that?
Shadow Moses was cut.
Yeah, and I thought there was like more stuff in Europe. Or
Yeah, I
something
think there was
cut
more
as
stuff in
well.
Europe was cut.
And Europe needed more stuff.
You can kind of
'cause
tell too.
that follow mission is awful.
Yeah.
Like, it's terrible. And
Do you enjoy listening to your man just whistle that song?
no,
There's 2 levels.
it
There's-
goes on for so long.
Yeah, there's
man.
2 levels in MGS4 that are decent, and then it's just like the rest of the game is not great. The story is cool. Then the cutscenes
Story's
are deadly.
incredible. Story is incredible.
But that is definitely a game that could benefit from that Resi 4 approach. Taking what you've learned from Phantom Pain and putting it in here.
Yeah, and I do think it would like pop in that way of like, because MGS4 hasn't been ported to anything. Anything. Like there was never a PC port or anything.
So weird.
It is so weird. But yeah, I do think it would have that like, holy shit, MGS4 is coming back. And then if it's a remake, you could just kind of give it the modern conventions that it probably needs for a nowadays gaming audience. And also because it was an issue back then anyway. Like, you know, like to watch the cutscenes was incredible. But at that point, it's because you're a Metal Gear fan, you're invested in the story, and you want to see how it's all going to end. But to just play the game, it's definitely the one I've played the least.
Mm-hmm.
It's not one that I'm ever like throwing
Well,
on. I
I
only
can't say
ever
that.
play. I only ever played Metal Gear Solid 4 if I was playing through all 3 of the others, and I go, oh yeah, let's keep going.
Sure.
Do you know that way? I never went, I'm just going to throw on MGS4. Whereas with any of the other 3, I could just do, like, I could just throw on 2, finish 2, and not touch the other ones for a while. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But 4 was only ever the end of a marathon,
Mm-hmm.
basically, for me.
Yeah. It might
you know,
actually be fucking easier to remake it than it would be to port it, to be honest.
Why is that? What is the difficulty in porting it? Is it because of, like, is there something in it that makes it so hard to port, or?
Yeah, so because it was built exclusively for the PS3, it was built specifically for that hardware.
Right.
And the issue with when you port something, there's a few ways of doing it. One is that in most cases, you're emulating, right? So, like, I believe MGS1 gets emulated when you play that on, like PS5 and PS4 and so on. So what it's doing is it's running as a PS1.
Yeah.
Inside the hardware. Now, to run an emulator is quite intensive for a machine. And basically, your console or PC would have to emulate a PS3.
Right.
It would have to run with all the capabilities of a PS3. And then have enough processing power and RAM and so on to then also run the game.
But if they were able to port so many other PS3 games, why is this one the issue? That's what I'm wondering.
I don't
like
yeah.
like they were able to port all the like Uncharted games.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like when I'm trying to think of PS3 exclusive games because like there's other games you could think of like the Arkham games or Mass Effect and so they're all on Xbox as well though. So like
Well, like Last
the
of
same
Us,
thing,
you're able to play The Last of Us that you got that with the PlayStation collection.
So
PS
I'm
Plus collection.
pretty sure with those type of ports, it's a lot more than just running an emulator. That it is actually technically kind of remaking the game. You're now running it on brand new code.
Yes. Yeah.
So, I think getting a game like that to like MGS4 is kind of a special case in comparison to the Uncharted series. Like Naughty Dog in particular found out, or they're the ones that figured out how to crack the code on the cell processor, so they fucking knew like all the magic tricks. Konami at the time didn't have a clue. They didn't know what the fuck they were doing, and that's why the game itself is a bit problematic. That's why there's fuck all gameplay in it. It's not necessarily anything to do with the amount of time they had to produce. Well, partially because of how difficult it was to make a game for it. It was more just, I can't do this any longer. Let's just throw another cutscene in.
Right.
But outside of the tech issues of bringing MGS4 over, you also have a ton of references to the PS3.
You do, that's true. But
and I don't know how many. That's just not going to work on Xbox, is it?
Yeah, no. Those moments will just be, they're those kind of moments where you just have to accept that that's what's in it, and it's not going to make sense, and you just have to get on with it, because it's similar to like when you play MGS1 and a port of MGS1, and it's like, oh, swap the controller, and you're not really swapping the controller.
No.
Or he talks about reading your memory card, and you don't have a memory card, so those moments don't work, and you just have to go, I remember when this did work though, and oh god, it takes me back, like, and that's all that moment is nowadays. Like the Psycho Mantis moment doesn't work anymore. It worked back then. And now it's just trying to emulate it working, but it's not really working.
I'm thinking of it more on a licensing front.
All right, on other platforms than the PlayStation.
Can Konami, if it's not an exclusive, use a PS3 controller as Snake's controller to control the Metal Gear Mark II?
I'm sure there's small things they could change, and that could be one of them. Make that a more...
But that would then, you're starting to borderline to the remake area, where then you might as well just remake the game.
Here's what I think is going to happen, because I do think there's a lot of figuring out with MGS4, is there's a clear reason why they didn't include it on that first Master Collection, and why they said, let's just split this up, actually. And in his quote, actually, he did say about, like, it's a difficult one for the future and stuff like this, right? But read between the lines, which is basically, look at it, like, obviously... we're going to have to include it. We can't not. The promise of a Volume 1 implies a Volume 2. What the fuck else could go on a Volume 2? Like,
Metal Gear Acid.
Get the fuck out of here. So...
well, it'll be Peace Walker, Ground Zeroes, and Phantom Pain.
I wonder if what they're going to do with Metal Gear Solid 4, which is not necessarily what you're saying, Adam, which would be like a full remake, which would be fucking incredible.
Oh, that's not going to happen. That's
not going to happen.
That's a dream come true.
And in a minute, I would like to talk about what we'd love to see in that dreamland, because that it could, like, if they make more remakes after Delta, it is a possibility in the future that does happen.
Mm-hmm.
Right, distant future, but future. I think there's a possibility though that what they might do with this, which for some people will toe the line of, well, is it a remaster or a remake? Kind of what BioWare did with the Mass Effect Legendary Collection, what they did with Mass Effect 1, where they did actually make some changes to it, but it's still considered a remaster. Or like what Square Enix did with the Crisis Core Reunion thing, and you had enough people going, well, then it's basically a remake. And I was like, nah, it's not a remake. That's a remaster. We're not. We've just changed a few things. We've changed a few things in there, but ultimately it's the same experience. I think they could go in and change a few things, but not go all the way. Anyone think I'm crazy for thinking that, or
no? No, that's very
they
likely.
Won't do it, or
no, I think that's it's very like, I think obviously there's issues with it. The reading between the lines though could also be, we know this is a problem, so read between the lines.
Read between the lines. There's gonna be a volume 2.
It's not going to be on it.
It's going to be the Phantom Pain and Peace Walker, baby.
Yeah.
And Ground Zeroes. Don't forget about Ground Zeroes.
I'd be so mad. I'd be so mad. I actually don't care if Volume 2 is only MGS4.
Well, here's the thing, right? If they do
that.
actually include it, so it's 4 Peace Walker and Phantom Pain, right?
4
Jesus.
portable ops.
That'll probably be the way it would be, right?
Right.
That is literally the only way you can get me to buy the Phantom Pain again.
Yeah. No, honestly, if MGS4 is paired with anything else, I'll buy it. Like, I don't care what it is. I want a way to play. I have a PS3. It's not hooked up at the moment. I have one, right? And when I got it, it was because there was a few games that were still on that system that I wanted to be able to play. Most of those games have now since been ported. So less and less do I need that PS3. The only reason it is still sitting there is because it is the only way to play Metal Gear Solid 4. Because I can play the Mass Effect Collection now with the Legendary Edition. Happy days. They ported all the Modern Warfare games. They ported the Arkham games. You know what I mean? Anything else that I would have played on that system has been ported. MGS4 is the only reason I still have a PS3. After that, if the day that gets ported, I'm like, bye-bye, PS3. It was fun, but your days are gone. There's no point in collecting more dust. You're not even the original version, so you're not even beautiful to look at. Get out of here.
I think, I found Metal Gear Solid 4 in a CEX shop, which is, for anyone listening who doesn't know what that is, it's a kind of like a secondhand game store, tech store type thing. And I found it in there in a county called Carlow.
Hey.
And I just went, buying that? Yoink, straight away. Didn't care. I couldn't play it, but like, I don't even fucking give. Like, I needed to have Metal Gear Solid 4.
I had
one
a
of those
copy
rare
of
gems.
MGS4 that was signed by David Hayter.
Oh, don't tell me. I know. It's heartbreaking. It's gone.
Robbed.
Bastards.
Robbed.
That is actually pure evil. Like,
Yeah.
they should have looked at that and went, I mean, this is
Because you
clearly
can't play it on
like,
anything.
it's of no use to them. Like, that's the worst part of it.
They stole my PS4
worthless.
and a copy of the signed MGS4, and it's like, well, you can't fucking do, and you can't sell it to anyone. It has my name on it.
Yeah, totally useless. Which means they probably just fucking threw it out, which is the worst part. That is the worst part. You'd rather they sold it to someone.
Just keep the PS4. Just give me back the fucking.
Give me back. Yeah, it's horrible.
Even
That's
just
fucking
if you
horrible.
want, keep the disc. I just want the sleeve. You know.
Yeah.
No, give the whole thing back.
Well, but
even
preferably,
everything
but-
you robbed from him, give it all back.
Yeah, you scumbag.
And don't be a dick. That was around Christmas as well, which was even worse.
It was near, yeah.
It's horrible.
Horrendous. Fucking horrendous.
So yeah, wouldn't mind to jump back into MGS4. That'd be nice. But I do think out of all of them, like, that's the one. I think when they were thinking about doing a remake, I don't know why they didn't decide to do Metal Gear first. Like the MSX
I don't know why
one.
they didn't
That
decide
was-
to do Metal Gear Solid
Well, again, that's another. I I don't think you can really remake that without like getting in trouble with a lot of people. You know what I mean? Like that's dangerous territory. Whereas
I just think that one would have popped the way a Resident Evil or a Final Fantasy VII would pop. It's that you're hitting that generation who grew up with the PS1. The we were kids in the 90s and we're dads with kids now, and holy shit, I'm selling my child.
yeah, but like
Yeah.
the Metal Gear
Yeah.
is the next one. Like they've just
in
done
they've
just done
yeah.
Phantom Pain. The end of Phantom Pain is he has an like I think it's an MSX, and he has the fucking tape, and he's like the MSX is next to it, and it actually says the name of the operation in from like it's hinting at the next one.
Mm.
It makes why
It does make sense.
Why
it
not
makes
be
total
that?
sense. Yeah, it makes total sense.
He has a what next to the tape?
the MSX, which is the original console that Metal Gear was on. And the
Oh,
thing is that
okay.
Venom Snake, the guy that you've been playing as the whole time, is the villain in the first Metal Gear. So you would have been building up the villain, and that's the dude you take on now in the next one. Like
Voice. So then you'd be fighting someone voiced by Kiefer Sutherland,
yes,
while
who
then
could
Metal
be
Gear is
David Hayter,
David Hayter.
right?
Oh my god, why don't they hire us?
But honestly, Adam's been doing most of the heavy lifting, and just hire him. He's absolutely nailing this shit. I look at
I hear what you're saying, but I don't know if I like that idea.
I look at yes. If they were remaking Metal Gear, I would love it.
Yeah.
If they were making Metal Gear 2, I'd love it. I've always talked about where I would love a version of a remake of Metal Gear Solid. That's a different thing, and I'm not talking a straight remake. I want a different thing. But anyway, that's a different thing.
Yeah.
You did bring up the idea of a Metal Gear Solid 4 remake.
That would be tasty.
And to end this week's discussion, what would you like to see in a remake for Metal Gear Solid 4? That as a hypothetical, and down the line, it's something that could happen in the way this future. Again, if Delta kicks off and they decide we're going to remake the series, chronological order or whatever they're doing, maybe it's something that they will get to. But what would you want to see?
Firstly, apart from just obviously it uses whatever game engine you want. If it wants to be Unreal, use Unreal. I don't think MGS4 or MGS5 have actually nailed the whole stealth in the middle of a battlefield. Both of them are supposed to be that, and neither of them, I think, achieved it well. So I want them to really work on that and make that the core of the gameplay, and even introduce it into places like Europe, and introduces more enemies as well into Chapter 4. It needs more gameplay, essentially, is what's missing there. I think a lot of the codec, there's some codec moments that are actually done mid-game, so that can actually be introduced, so you're not taken out of the game to have to listen to Rosemary or whatever. Just keep playing the game. Make it long enough that there's so much more to do in it, and there is pockets of things to do in the original anyway, if you go looking for them. But it almost needs to have the approach of like The Last of Us or Uncharted 4's kind of open linear locations. It somewhat had that, but you had to kind of go. You almost didn't get brought around to some of those little locations, because if you just walk in a straight line, you get to the end. You don't really have to interact with anything. It needs to be more winding around and an actual chaotic battlefield where you have to use everything at your disposal or sneak through. That would be the main thing I'd want to see from an MGS4 remake, is essentially just more gameplay and really nail that what the original vision was, which I think they were probably held back by both time and the hardware at the time. But I think they've learned so much now, not that studio in particular, but just from games in the industry, they could actually achieve that original vision.
Yeah. Eric?
Yeah, I like definitely way more gameplay. All the stuff that they cut out originally, put that stuff back in. I think it'd be really cool if they, yeah, like you have that approach if you want to be stealthy in in a battlefield do that, and therefore maybe you can climb up terrain or something. So if you see a pipe, you can climb up it and then start shimmying along like a gibbon above the battlefield.
So more
Or
verticality.
more verticality, or if you're wanting to like just like maybe there's a bunch of PMCs, like when you're in the Middle East at like Act One, and you have there's kind of those crossfire moments between the militia and the PMCs. They're all fighting each other. And let's say you're like, Grant, well, I want to get through this and I want to help that militia. Like, toss in a grenade and like the whole room just explodes outwards. So like the rubble itself could absolutely explode. And
So
like
take a page out of like Battlefield, where like there's slightly explosive.
yeah, so take a
Battlefield.
page out of
Yeah, that'd be
Battlefield, and
pretty cool,
then
actually.
take a page out of, I suppose, Splinter Cell in that verticality of where you can go to get around. Uh again, more gameplay. Europe, maybe make if you're going to do that fucking long ass walking sequence, make it way more interesting, where again you start implementing more of that verticality, having to like go up and down and shit like that. Maybe because Chris, you were talking about or one of you was talking about the controller for the Mark One, the little tiny guy. They could do a really nice callback. Probably no one will get it. I don't know if anyone remembers this. Do you remember the initial design for the PS3 controller?
Oh yeah, the boomerang.
The boomerang. So you could do the boomerang because that's not linked to
Right,
anything.
it's not a real thing. Yeah, yeah.
It's not a real thing.
But it's a cute Easter egg.
Cute little Easter egg, that the boomerang thing, which is a callback to.
Just Eric, that's some deep dive, man.
It was that originally on the PS3. And then when you pre-order the game,
You get that controller.
You get the crocodile hat from MGS3.
Yeah, yeah.
And you get a mini model of the original PS3.
What the fuck?
Not a working one. It doesn't work, but it's just like a nice little standee.
The hat thing is a dig at me. I don't know. It's the
It'd also
wind me
be
up
nice
because
to have
yeah.
more of a like benefits and consequences to whether you help or hinder the local militias in each of the war zones.
That would be cool. Yeah, yeah.
And that would affect your drabbing points to what you can actually purchase and so on. So there's an actual make the war economy part of the game economy.
Yes. That sounds fucking amazing. I'm all on board for everything you guys have said. One thing I would have liked as well, on top of those things, is a Soliton radar.
Get out of town.
I don't know why it's not in the game.
Because
I don't know why. I don't know. I think there's like a bullshit reason why.
Oh, you think
Because
story-wise? It makes no sense.
What I mean is, I think they went, oh, let's go for something like MGS3, and now let's come up for a reason why we're doing that instead of the Soliton radar. And for me, one of the problems I had with MGS4 was that it tried to be a little bit like a continuation of MGS3 style, and that old MGS1, MGS2 style was like lost forever. It was like gone. And I was cool with it in MGS3 because we're going back to a retro thing. But now I was like, we're back to Solid Snake though. I'm not Big Boss. And you're putting an eye patch on me? Okay, fair enough. But you're doing a lot, and like suddenly he's talking about CQC. Solid Snake never talked about CQC. Why are we talking about this shit now? And then the camo suit. Okay, you found a way to bring the camo back and make it modern. I can live with it. But then when the radar was also just like little dots and it was like an old school radar thing, I was just like, oh man, I fucking hate the radar in this game. And I do. I hate the radar, which was the pivotal way to play Metal Gear Solid in 1 and 2.
Okay.
I'm passionate
If
about
we
that
put
one.
the Soliton radar in,
Yes.
then the game stays on a top-down, almost isometric view.
Holy fuck.
Right?
Yeah, okay, sure.
Would you be alright with that?
I don't think it has to.
Yes, it has
I don't
to.
see why it has to. No, I don't see. I think because my whole thing is I'd get spotted by enemies who come around corners. I never knew they were there anyway. How the fuck was I ever
Use your
supposed to
radar.
hide from them? The radar is just dots and circles everywhere in every direction because it's a war zone. It's that you need the line of sight more than you need the where are people.
So the reason the Soliton radar is in 1 and 2 and not in any of the others is because you have free control of the camera. That is it. The Soliton radar's existence is only so that you can see what's up there because you can't look up that way. You had no vision. So the Soliton radar was Metal Gear 1 and 2, but done in dots.
Yes.
Right? It plays exactly the same. And this is their first time doing 3D, and this is how this is the only way they figured out how to get the gameplay from Metal Gear 1 and 2 into a 3D environment was to basically keep it exactly the same, and you see it up there in the corner. That's all it is. The moment you can start to control your camera, that thing is useless. You don't need it anymore.
So you can toggle it on and off. I want the Soliton radar. You don't have to use it. I want it. Okay? In my remake of MGS 4, you could toggle on a Soliton radar and I could feel good about it, okay?
Okay?
I got one better for you, Chris. Right?
Yeah, dude, go
really,
on, do it.
really touching home, right?
Alright, touch my home.
For the entirety of the Shadow Moses Act,
Yeah?
the whole thing is done top down, and you have the Soliton radar. Just for that
Let's do it.
homage.
I'd also like to see enemies in Shadow
Yeah.
Moses, not just machines.
With the actual... What?
I would
what
like to
PMC
see
is
that was... fuck.
Werewolf.
Was it Werewolf?
Could have
I
been.
think so.
Yeah,
Or
could've
something
been.
like that. There's
No,
one
it
of
was
them.
Praying...
No, Praying Mantis.
Praying
are the
Mantis
guys
is the first one.
in the first area.
But I thought Praying Mantis was mainly the AI.
No.
Praying Mantis unmanned surveillance system. That's what the ad says.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
but
unmanned surveillance system is belonged by the PMC Praying Mantis.
All right, okay. So Werewolf was the...
Yeah,
I would
it
like
was
to
Werewolf.
see...
I think it was Werewolf.
So it was Praying
Plus, you
Mantis...
fight Crying Wolf there, so...
I know we did. Okay, so Praying Mantis was the first one, and then what was it? It was...
Raven Sword in the next area.
Was Ravensword the next area, or was Ravensword in Europe?
I think it was Raven Sword in the jungle area, South America, wherever it is. I think in Europe, it's... What are they again? What's the other one?
Well, I don't know because one of them is in French, so I don't know how to pronounce it.
The octopus one is French,
Yeah.
and then there's
Oh,
the
is that the one you don't get?
No, you don't get the wolf one, I think.
I think it's
Okay,
werewolf.
I can't
Yeah,
look
I
at
think
it.
it's werewolf. You don't get.
I don't know.
There's like a coyote jackal one or something that's based in like Russia or something like that, and that's not in it. I'd love for them to be in it. That'd be cool.
Cool.
And then they're all controlled by Outer Haven.
Hey. I don't. Other than the things you were saying, and I think Adam hit the nail really, which was more gameplay, to go along with the already epic story, and really shorten that follow mission, shorten the shit out of it. Take it out, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm okay with it going. I wouldn't miss that.
I'd actually be happy enough with some of those cutscenes being reworked and
Yes,
summarized,
shorter.
basically, because
Yeah.
there's something
Shut your damn mouth.
There's
man.
something
No,
about
we need
them-
those 2.5-hour cutscenes.
there's something about them that just doesn't. They're just not quite the same as the previous few, and there's a lot of nothing happening, kind of, and a little bit of grunting and so on. There's a lot of things that you could really quicken the pace of some of those cutscenes, especially up in that the plane that they have. I can't remember what they call it. They're basically their mobile base.
The Nomad.
The Nomad. That there's a lot there that could be changed. There's a PS3 on that as well.
There's a
As well
PS4.
as a couple of I think Otacons using the Mac on it.
Would it
Sure.
be cool to have brief moments where you play as other characters? Like, would it be cool to play as Meryl at one point doing the shootout on Outer Haven?
No, something cool about the
Cutscene and
cutscenes,
her and Johnny
split-
proposing.
No, you know the moments where you're playing it and it's like 24. You know, it's like you're seeing what's happening to all of them.
Oh,
as
the
you're playing.
entire the microwave sequence is fucking amazing.
Yeah.
Like it's so good. Like
So I would say no.
there's so much in MGS4 that's so fucking
I'd
good,
say-
man.
I'd say no. You should only play as Snake, and you should feel they should really touch on him being alone. Like, he has people around him, obviously, but he feels somewhat alone. There's the psych meter that's in this in comparison to Snake Eater, which is the
it's
hunger
barely
meter.
used, really.
It's somewhat used, but I think they could really
I would
drive
like
that
more reasons to call Rosemary, because she shows up to explain that she's going to be your psychologist.
home. Yeah.
And unless you call her, she then shows up at the end of the game to go, Jack, this is your son. And actually, Colonel was protecting me. I forgot you were even here, Rosemary.
Well, it's a bit like
So she actually
there
plays a massive role, you know?
What if we
is
should
it a
put
bit
a
like
spoiler warning for MGS4, by the way?
we should?
It's not as if many people actually played the thing, is it? It's
Yeah, I should have
Is
said,
her
said
name
it earlier, really.
Natasha from Metal Gear Solid 1?
yeah,
Natasha Romanenko.
the
Romanenko.
weapons
Like,
specialist.
Like, if they remade Metal Gear Solid 1,
Yeah.
she might be someone as well. They could probably, like, let's face it, like, no one really called her, even though she actually does have interesting dialogue.
It's
She
actually
does.
really
She's really
interesting.
interesting
Yeah,
dialogue.
she's
Yeah.
basically a bit of a podcast as you go through Metal Gear. You're just kind of like, oh,
That's what the
alright.
codec calls should be. A podcast you can listen to while you shoot people and steadily
Yeah.
kill people. That's it.
And you know what? They were really trying that with the tapes in Phantom Pain.
Just for and just
It just didn't work though. It really didn't work. It needed.
I
No,
know.
It's like
Nothing against the actual voice actors, but they were a bit fucking boring to listen to.
yeah, it was.
And then
It was-
those tapes were so long as well.
Yeah, it was boring, and I think it would help. Like, so if they have the codec playing, you need to have the little face up there talking to you as they go.
Yeah.
Yeah, those would be pretty much everything I want from a remake of MGS4.
Well, guys, we want to hear from you. What would you want to see from a hypothetical remake of Metal Gear Solid 4? Or what would you like to see from what I think is the inevitable remaster of the game when they can figure out how to do it? Like, how much of an overhaul do you want in a remaster sense? Or do you just want them to find some way to preserve it exactly as it is, but ported? What else do you think would be on Volume 2? And are you excited for MGS Delta? Are you happy with, if you've checked out the previews, how the game is sounding so far, that it seems to be a very faithful recreation of Snake Eater? Would you have liked them to have been a little bit bolder in their recreation of it? Do let us know. Or if there's a Metal Gear game that you particularly want remade, which one is it? If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you jump down into the comments to let us know. If you enjoyed this episode, please give us a thumbs up, hit subscribe, ring the notification bell for all future content. And to those who listen to us on audio platforms, you can touch base on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and X at The Brothers Take, again, to give your take on Metal Gear Solid. Thank you so much for checking out this week's episode. We will be back to talk to you guys next time.
Bye-bye.
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 The comment you made earlier about Crisis Core Reunion being a remaster, not a remake, even though they pretty much remade the game.
Yes.
What would you classify Delta in this case then?
I know.
It's tricky, isn't it?
Well, Chris is still unclear on what defines remaster and remake anyway, so
Yeah, so am I. It's a little.
I think
It
we
is
all
a
are.
bit tricky.
it's getting trickier.
Like, if you remade a game to be so like, let's say they remade Metal Gear Solid 1
Yeah.
from the ground up to be completely faithful in every way, including the graphics. Right? You know that kind of PS1 demake kind of videos we
Yes.
see, right? So
Yeah,
they
yeah.
made it so faithful that just the graphics of it even look like the PS1.
Yeah.
Is it a remake?
Yeah, it's a difficult one to answer. You know what this is right now?
Wow.
This is the phone call conversation after the credits at the end of every
I
Metal
love
Gear
those.
game. I love those too. But they always ended with like a thing
Yeah.
that would leave you wondering. And I think the thing that we're wondering is,
Mr.
exactly
President.
that. Is Delta a remake or a
Remaster. What the hell?